Ready to go deeper down the rabbit hole. Today we're diving headfirst into hyperspace and higher dimensions. And you know that video, What If You Could Access the 10th Dimension? That's what really got us thinking.
And we're not just talking about an extra dimension or two. We're talking multiple dimensions of time, alternate realities where physics is completely different, and levels of consciousness so advanced they make seeing the future seem, well, pretty basic.
Okay, you definitely have my attention. But how do we even start wrapping our heads around something so far beyond, everyday life?
We start with what we know. We live in a 3D world length with height. That's how we perceive space. But imagine for a second we're like, fish in a pond, completely unaware of the world above the surface. What if there are extra dimensions that we just can't see?
You mean like a whole other reality existing right outside our perception? Okay, now I'm really intrigued. But how do we get from fish to, actual scientific theories?
That's where Einstein comes in. His theory of relativity, it changed everything. Before Einstein, space and time, totally separate. But he's the one who said, what if they're intertwined, woven together? Space-time.
So instead of two separate things, it's more like this single four-dimensional thing. My brain's already hurting.
That's the idea, and that's what opened the door to considering higher dimensions.
It's amazing how these ideas build on each other. But wait, there's more, right? What about gravity? Doesn't it have something to do with this?
Absolutely. Einstein's theories are amazing at explaining how gravity acts, but they didn't quite explain why it's so weak. Think about it. Electromagnetism, that's strong. But gravity.
Yeah, I mean, a tiny magnet can defy the entire Earth. It's kind of mind-blowing when you really think about it.
Exactly. So how come? One explanation might be those hidden dimensions we were talking about. And the leading theory on this is string theory. It says that everything's made of these tiny vibrating strings.
So not little particles, but tiny vibrating strings.
You got it. And here's the wild part. These strings aren't just vibrating in our 3D space. String theory says they exist in, get this, 10-dimensional space. The extra dimensions are just curled up, hidden from us.
Okay, 10 dimensions.
Uh-huh.
You aren't kidding about this being a wild ride. But wait, I thought there was something about an 11th dimension, too.
You're on top of it. That's M theory. Instead of just strings, picture higher dimensional objects called brains vibrating in this hyperspace. And get this, our entire universe could be like one giant brain inside this higher dimensional space.
So it's not even just extra dimensions hanging out somewhere. It's like our entire universe is embedded in something bigger.
That's, wow, okay. I need a minute to process that.
And just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder, brace yourself for multiple dimensions of time.
Okay, how is that even possible? We experience time as a line, past, present, future. What else could there be?
I know it sounds crazy, Riley. But there was this guy, John William Dunn, who spent his life exploring this. He said maybe, just maybe, our everyday understanding of time is way too limited. So he's suggesting other ways to experience time. Okay, I'm listening.
He has said we might need extra time dimensions to truly get the universe. For example, what happens when someone falls into a black hole? Time gets really weird there. We might need another time dimension to explain it.
So different levels of temporal awareness, almost.
Yeah.
Some beings experiencing time in ways we can't even imagine.
Now you're getting it. Dunn believed that beings in higher dimensions wouldn't just perceive time differently. Their consciousness would be, intertwined with it. A totally different perspective on reality.
All right, my mind is officially blown. We're stuck in our 4 dimensions, but other beings might be out there experiencing reality in ways we can't even comprehend. Phew, this is a lot to take in.
And we're just getting started. Wait until you hear about gamma, delta, epsilon.
Okay, so last time we were totally mind blown by the idea of multiple time dimensions and beings with higher levels of consciousness. Now we're going to actually explore those levels.
Exactly. It's one thing to talk about them, but wouldn't it be wild to actually imagine experiencing them?
For sure. So where do we even begin?
Well, think about how we perceive things. We live in a 3D world, right? But our eyes, they only capture 2D.
It's like those optical illusions where it's flat, but suddenly, boom, 3D.
Exactly. Our brains take those flat images and add the depth themselves. Some scientists, like this guy Donald Hoffman, he says our perception of reality might just be a user interface. Like a simplified version of something way more complex.
So our brains are basically filling in the gaps.
Right. Now apply that to a higher dimensional being, a 4D being. Maybe they only see a 3D snapshot, and their brains have to build the rest of their 4D world from that.
So their reality is limited too, just like ours.
In a way, yeah. Every jump up in dimension is like an awareness upgrade. Remember that twin paradox with Bob and Ace?
Yeah, Bob's older, so he's kind of seen more of Ace's future just by being further along in his own time.
Exactly. A higher dimensional being wouldn't be predicting the future, really. More like experiencing a bigger chunk of space-time all at once. It's about perspective.
Okay, that makes more sense. So about those levels of awareness you mentioned, gamma, delta, those ones, what's the deal with gamma?
Okay, so picture this. Beta is like watching a DVD. You can rewind, fast forward, whatever. Now, gamma. Gamma is like seeing the whole film reel laid out all at once. That's your life.
Hold on. So beta's like watching, but gamma's having the entire film, every choice, every moment, all there like a map?
You got it. Every single decision, every path you could have taken, it's all there. But the wild part, at the gamma level, you can analyze it all. You could see how your emotions changed over time, how decisions affected your relationships, your career. It'd be like a cosmic life tracker.
That's insane, but can you, like, change anything, or are you just watching this giant timeline?
Good question. You see the outcomes, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can change the past. It's
Yeah.
more about, like, learning those deep patterns about yourself so you can make better decisions right now.
So not going back to fix that embarrassing thing in high school. Darn.
No, sorry. But hey, gamma gives you something better. Serious self-awareness. See the consequences of your choices, learn from your past, and make better choices now. That's powerful stuff.
That is pretty huge, actually. Okay, so gamma is about the choices within your life. But what about those what-if realities where your whole life could be different? That's delta, right?
Gingo. Gamma's like the ultimate self-help tool, but Delta's where we get really existential.
Hit me with it delta style.
Okay, so if Gamma is seeing your life's film strip, Delta's seeing every alternate ending to that film. Imagine a web of possibilities, each one a different set of choices, different outcomes.
So not just how things in my life could have gone, but like different versions of me making totally different choices, having a totally different life.
You got it. And that's where free will gets really interesting. Do we actually choose our path, or is it all kind of, I don't know, set in stone? Delta makes you think about that in a whole new way.
It's like those choose-your-own-adventure books, but on a universal scale. All those little decisions, a different job, meeting a certain person, and each one leading to a completely different you.
Exactly. We may never visit those other realities, but just knowing they could exist, it makes you think twice about your choices. All those possibilities right there.
Okay, delta has officially short-circuited my brain.
Mm-hmm.
But there's more, isn't there? Epsilon and beyond. Where do we go from here?
Well, that's where we start to mess with the very fabric of reality.
Okay, so last time we were in delta, with its mind-blowing web of alternate realities, and now we're stepping into epsilon, where we start messing with, like, reality itself. This is where it gets really intense, right?
This is where it gets cosmic. See, up until now, we've been playing with the hand we were dealt, our universe, its laws, starting with the Big Bang, all that epsilon. Epsilon tosses that out the window.
So instead of just different paths, epsilon's like, what if we rewrite the whole system?
Exactly. Epsilon is where the butterfly effect goes universal. Remember, even a tiny change at the beginning can totally change the outcome. Well, epsilon takes that to the extreme. What if we tweak the universe's settings at the very beginning?
Okay, so what kind of tweaks are we talking? Like, give me an example.
Imagine a universe where we're born with wrinkles and we get smoother over time. Or imagine if entrepreneurship, like starting businesses, what if that whole concept just popped up at a totally different point in history? Just because society developed a little differently.
So like a cosmic sing-universe game. Changing the settings and seeing what happens. Gravity's a little stronger, the speed of light is slower. It makes you wonder what our universe would be like if just one thing were different.
Exactly. And at the epsilon level, you wouldn't just be watching those universes. You'd understand how those tiny changes made such a huge difference.
So epsilon is like having the universe's control panel. That's a lot of power. But okay, before we create any new universes, what about lambda? What's that about?
Lambda is where we bring some order to the chaos. Instead of a jumbled mess of possibilities, imagine a neat stack of realities. Each one's got different starting conditions.
So instead of random what-ifs, it's more organized, like a cosmic card catalog. Each card is a universe, different laws, different beginnings.
Perfect analogy. At the lambda level, you'd see that whole catalog, that library of existence. You'd see how universes play out based on their starting settings, the connections, the patterns. It'd be like seeing the blueprints of reality.
Whoa. Okay, so we've gone from watching a bunch of movies to seeing the scripts and who directed them, and there's more. What's Sigma like?
Get ready, because sigma is where we question the rules themselves. What if, in some universes, time goes backward, or gravity pushes things away? The laws of physics, the things we think are constant, what if they're just variables?
Okay, now my brain's officially melting down. We're not just changing settings, we're like rewriting the code. This is getting really intense.
And in that meltdown, in that surrender to the possibilities, that's where you get a glimpse of Omega.
Omega, the grand finale. This is it, the ultimate level.
Omega is pure awareness. Every reality, every set of laws, every possible way to exist. All of it, together. It's a level where just observing might create something new, where consciousness is the ultimate force. It's so far beyond us, we can only try to imagine it.
So Omega's like the ultimate sandbox, where anything is possible,
Yeah.
imagination of possibility, just like that.
Exactly. And it's easy to think of all this as just, I don't know, crazy ideas. But even trying to understand it, it changes how you see things.
I totally get that. This whole deep dive, it's been a journey. Extra dimensions, different universes, different laws. It's mind-blowing, but in a good way.
It shows that reality is way stranger, way more mysterious than we usually think.
For sure. So next time you look at the stars, remember those hidden dimensions, those other possibilities. Even if we can't go there, we can imagine them. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of higher dimensions. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep looking beyond what you think you know. You never know what you'll find.